Most people don't fail financially because they earn too little. They fail because they misunderstand time. What financially successful people do in each decade looks boring up close, but devastatingly powerful over 30 or 40 years. And almost no one talks about that. Income feels important, but decades matter more than paychecks. Two people can earn the same money and end up in completely different places, not because of talent, not because of luck, but because of when they made certain decisions. By the end of this video, one quiet insight will connect every decade together and explain why chasing money too early actually slows people down later. Most people never see this until it's too late. In their 20s, most people chase speed, higher pay, better titles, a lifestyle that looks successful. The goal is to get ahead quickly, and when income rises, spending quietly rises with it. This feels logical, but this is where people fall behind without realizing it. Financially successful people in their 20s optimized for direction, not income. They treated their 20s like a testing lab. They changed jobs faster. They moved cities more willingly. They accepted roles that paid less but taught more. Almost no one talks about this part. They weren't trying to look successful. They were trying to become valuable. They built optionality, skills that transfer, networks that compound, a reputation that opens doors later. Most people don't realize this, but income in your 30s and 40s is often decided by how many options you quietly built in your 20s. And this compounds later, in a way money never can.
In their 30s, most people try to stabilize. They lock into routines. They upgrade lifestyles. They get comfortable and busy. This is when expenses harden and flexibility quietly disappears. This feels responsible, but this is where momentum slows.
Financially successful people in their 30s focused on leverage, not effort. They asked a different question. How can one decision pay me back for 10 years? They didn't just work harder. They positioned themselves. This could mean moving into ownership roles, building systems instead of doing tasks, tying income to outcomes, not hours. Almost no one talks about how uncomfortable this phase feels, because leverage looks risky before it looks smart. They learned to delay visible rewards. While others upgraded cars and homes, they upgraded positioning. This is the decade where quiet sacrifices create loud outcomes later. And this is where people who rushed comfort in their 20s feel stuck. But the biggest shift is still coming. By their 40s, most people try to protect what they have. They avoid risk. They avoid change. They rely on past decisions. The problem? If nothing is compounding by now, effort feels heavier every year. Successful people in their 40s focused on amplification. They doubled down on what was already working. They simplified instead of added, delegated instead of hustled, let assets work while they stepped back. Most people don't realize this, but wealth often accelerates after effort decreases. That's not luck. That's compounding finally becoming visible. They ruthlessly protected time and energy, not because they worked less, but because they understood that bad decisions cost more now than ever before. This is where the gap becomes obvious, and it only widens from here. In their 50s, many people finally start thinking long-term, but by now, their options are limited. They're dependent on employers, fixed income streams, past choices they can't undo. This creates anxiety disguised as playing it safe. Financially successful people entered this decade with control. Control over their time, their income sources, their decisions. They weren't trying to grow fast anymore. They were trying to stay flexible. Almost no one talks about this shift. Wealth at this stage isn't about accumulation, it's about freedom density. How much freedom exists inside each year? They planned exit paths, not end goals. They knew exactly what they could walk away from and when. That clarity creates calm most people never experience. Here's the insight that ties every decade together. Financially successful people don't chase money. They position themselves for time to work in their favor. Every decade had a different priority. Options in the 20s, leverage in the 30s, compounding in the 40s, control later on. Most people mix these up. They chase leverage too early. They seek comfort too soon. And they protect stability before anything is growing. That's why effort feels endless and progress feels slow. Time punishes bad sequencing and rewards good sequencing quietly. Money feels urgent. Time feels invisible. But the people who financially understand one thing early: the decade you're in matters more than the income you make. If this perspective changed how you see your own timeline, the next video breaks down how to align your current decade without burning years chasing the wrong goal. Subscribe, not for shortcuts, but for the strategies that actually survive time.